Plaintiff Donald Titus says the defendant is his younger brother, and the two of them were drinking buddies during their younger years. However, Donald claims after several stints in jail and the birth of his daughter, he decided to turn his life around. But his brother turned to harder drugs and has yet to get his life on track. Donald's suing his brother for unpaid rent and a loan. Defendant Dave Titus admits that he started out using marijuana, which eventually led to his use of prescription drugs and then to heroin. Dave admits that Donald allowed him to move in, but he insists he contributed to the household expenses and even babysat Donald's child in exchange for rent.
All rise. This court is now in session. The Honorable Judge Greg Mathis presiding. You may now be seated.
Prove your case.
Good morning, Your Honor. I'm here today suing my younger brother for some unpaid rent and loans. I do want to say that it's not just a money issue. I believe there's other issues with this, and I believe he needs some help. Well, he has a history of drug use.
What type?
Heroin, specifically. It started out with drinking, like myself. I'm not making any excuses. I was a drinker. We drank together throughout our younger years. I started to get in trouble with the law. Wound up going to jail on several different occasions, which eventually led me to go upstate. The first time I went to jail, I was 17 years old. I was charged as an adult for an attempted robbery. Wound up doing a year. DUIs.
Okay, good enough. All right, and he has been involved in heroin use. Sir, you want to respond?
We drank together growing up all the time. He was my drinking buddy. You know what I mean? But he wound up going to jail. So I lost my drinking buddy. So I had to find other people to drink with. And those people that drank, they wasn't only drinking, they was doing weed, you know. Like everybody, I started off just doing weed, you know, and then it just progressed. Just one day I was just doing heroin every day.
You went from drinking, smoking marijuana, to somebody bring the heroin on the scene?
To Oxycontin.
After the marijuana, you went to pills?
Yeah, you know, like Vicodin, Percocet.
Vicodin, then Oxycontin, then heroin.
Then the heroin.
All right, that's a very common progression.
Mm-hmm. And what made it worse is that I got a big settlement from getting hit by a truck, and I could afford it all the time.
How much of a settlement?
Like $30,000. You know, I bought a car and stuff like that, but a lot of it went to drugs. I mean, I was living like a king, a strung out king, but I was living like a king, you know what I mean? I could afford it.
All right, the reason I asked these type of questions, I like for the viewing audience to know what's going on in the world. From what I'm hearing, the real culprit is that Vicodin. When you start using that Vicodin, that was your downfall. And a lot of young people are using that Vicodin now, a lot of them. And they go from Vicodin to, as you say, Oxycontin, right to heroin. So, it's a shame. Go ahead, sir.
Once I got out of jail, by then I was 18 years old, and pretty much for about the next 10 to 12 years, I just lived a life of destruction, alcohol use, and incarceration. Every time I would go to jail and come out, it seemed like there was a new drug on the street, which is when I noticed his drug use. The first time I went to jail and came out, he was smoking weed. I'd go back to jail, come out, now he's on pills. Go back to jail, come out, then that heroin. I did have a daughter in 2001. Some of my life did change. I quit going out, but I was still drinking. I was just doing it at home. Got in an accident, and I hit a guy on a motorcycle and fled the scene. I went back to jail. When I was in front of the judge, I requested to be sent upstate. I was done doing the county time. It wasn't helping me. There was no programs. You couldn't get a GED. I was a high school dropout, of course. So the judge sent me upstate. I got a 1.5 to 3 year sentence upstate. I wound up doing the whole 3 years upstate. In the meantime, I did get my GED upstate. I did a lot of programs, countless programs, weeks and weeks and months of programs. Even upon my release of jail, I've been clean and sober ever since. I went to college as soon as I got out. I went to a community college. That was in 2006. For the first 3 months I was out, I relocated. I moved in with my father.
Tell me about him cleaning himself up. Did you do any of that?
I went to prison for a year. I got my GED.
Okay, and have you been back on drugs?
Since that, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, so you cleaned up for a minute, but you relapsed. Go ahead.
Even though I got out, I cut my family off. I wanted to make sure that I was on the right track. I didn't want to run into old friends and get caught up in anything, so I kind of stayed distant even from my brother for the first couple months. until I got myself situated in community college. I started working. Then I started to have my brother over to my new apartment. It was at that time he noticed that I was doing good. He was at wit's end. I advised him, he needs to relocate like I did, just stay away from some of the people that he was running with. And he seemed like he wanted to do it. He told me he was off the heroin and he wasn't doing anything, but he was, drinking and still popping pills whenever he got a chance to. I agreed to let him move in June of '06, and that's when I suggested that he enroll in a community college with me. I took him to the community college. I helped him enroll. He wasn't working at the time, but we did come up with the agreement that, once he started school and I'd help him get a job where I was employed at, that he would pay $200 a month. He started school in July. He did good. We were going together. I was working night shift. At that time, I wound up getting custody of my daughter. So he was helping me out of home. He wasn't working. I wasn't really stressing him. I was glad to see that he was in school. He was excited about starting in July. He was doing good until he got his student loan, which I believe he got it in November. He kept telling me he was looking for a job. I didn't know I was working night shift and going to school during the day and trying to be a full-time father.
He was going back to the old neighborhood.
I thought he was, but like I said, I was working nights. I didn't know what he was doing at nights.
So what happened with the money?
He disappeared. He got the money from the school, the student loan, and he disappeared for 2.5, 3 weeks.
What do you think he was doing? You think he was
I knew what he was doing.
Okay.
I didn't know where he was. Okay. I had a feeling where he was. I wasn't going to hunt him down.
How'd you later see him?
He came back to my house after he was broke.
Smoked it all up, or shot it all up, or snorted it all up, came back.
Correct.
With a sob story.
Yes, absolutely.
Let's move on to the rent videos.
So he stayed.
I've heard the story, and my only comment is that only when a person voluntarily goes to rehab, not when prison makes them go, not when the brother says either go or I'm kicking you out, not when mama says go or I'm kicking you out, only when they do exactly what you did. They say, I'm tired. They say, Judge, send me somewhere where I can get some help. Until he and all those others who are hooked on drugs determine that they want to turn themselves around, it won't happen. It won't happen. They'll just keep doing what he did to you, go out, do their thing, come back broke, and come with a sob story and convince you that they're going to turn around and stop. And then the next thing you know, they're doing the same thing. Rent, how does he owe you for that?
Okay, well, he moved in the beginning of June. We agreed on $200 a month. And he got his student loan, like I said, in November.
Hasn't paid you yet?
Absolutely no.
All right, sir.
Well, like he said, the school thing, he did help me out. I'm not gonna lie about that. And I did give him a sob story. I did want to change at that point. I saw how good he was doing.
You went right to rehab?
What's that?
You went right to rehab?
I've been to rehab.
No,
yeah.
I'm saying then. You said at that point you wanted to change. So at that point, did you go check in?
No.
Right. Go ahead.
Well, I didn't know that I was that deep that I needed rehab. I was still clouded.
I know you didn't know.
All right, well, he let me stay with him, so I was in school, and I was clean for a couple months. But then I got that money, and it brought back old memories when I had that settlement money. Like, I know it was stupid.
So when you did that, did you then, right after that, did you go to rehab? Right after that, right after you spent all the money, and you were sorry, and you went to him and said, I'm sorry, and you went to him and said, I need help, did you go and check yourself in?
Yes.
How long after?
After I came back to his apartment.
How long right after you came home after spending the thousands?
About a month.
A month later, you went and checked yourself, so you didn't go right away. Let's get to the rent. Did you owe him or not? Do you owe him rent or not?
Yes, for the first time.
What amount? Do you owe him $3,300?
Well, I don't feel like I owe him $3,300.
How much do you feel like you owe him?
I don't know. Like I helped him out. Like when he bought groceries, I gave him money. When I babysat his daughter and stuff.
Okay, but that wasn't the agreement, was it?
No, but
the agreement was rent and a loan, and that you would pay it back, right?
Correct.
Did you do it?
Some of it, like I said, I chip in when I could.
Did he do it?
No, absolutely not.
Show me evidence that you did. I'm asking you about repaying what you owed. Did you do any of that? No. Judgment for the plaintiff. You are ordered for drug analysis, and if it is determined that you have drugs in your system, you're further ordered to go for rehab. All right? Don't take any more of them sob stories. Tell him to go to rehab when he comes to your door. Have a good day.
I'd like to see him straighten his life out and get off the drugs and live a productive part of society.
Well, I'm not doing drugs. I'm working now. I got my own place now.